Hi, friends. Can you all believe it that it is IPL week? We are well and truly into IPL season. We've got only a few more days to go for it, and the cricketing juggernaut just keeps rolling on. We have done four previews so far and are on to our fifth preview of IPL 2024. And today we've got for you probably the most followed team in the IPL in India and overseas as well, which is RCB, Royal Challengers Bangalore. They've been playing this tournament since its inception. No title to show for it yet, um, but every year when the IPL comes around, there's one question on everybody's mind: is this going to be the year? Um, in the New Zealand context, we've got a rugby league team in New Zealand called the New Zealand Warriors. And since the inception of the rugby league in New Zealand and Australia, that team also has never ever won the title. And every single year, every Warriors fan in New Zealand asks the question, is this going to be the year? And there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of talk about it. The Warriors have disappointed New Zealand rugby league fans all this while. Um, and I hope the wait for RCB is not as long as it has been for the Warriors. Do you know much about rugby league, Sarvesh?
No, no idea.
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating game. You should follow it at some stage.
I think it's
Well, friends,
just like we feel about kabaddi in India. Exactly the parallel for New Zealand.
yeah, I mean, even yeah, multiply. I always say this to people that cricket is something that you do in India when you don't play rugby. In New Zealand, sorry, cricket in New Zealand is something that you play when you don't play rugby. Absolute stepmotherly treatment for cricket. But hey, that's for another day. Let's focus on the Royal Challengers Bangalore. You know, every time I think of this franchise, you think that uh, you think of one man, that is Virat Kohli, who's been an absolute constant right throughout the inception of this, and he's played for one franchise and one franchise only. I saw an interview of his which said that he will retire at Royal Challengers Bangalore. He doesn't see himself playing for any other franchise in the IPL. But every year, the performance on the field l- seems to seems to have moments of brilliance in it. It just keeps you hooked onto them, doesn't it? But still, at the end of the day, when you look at the season in the whole, still doesn't seem to deliver for them. They finished sixth on the table in 2024. If we can have a quick look at that, that's the table there. So 7 wins. It was a 50-50 season for them, halfway there. But if you had to put a finger on what went wrong in 2023, Sarvesh, what would your call be?
I think they missed Rajat at the top in for their batting, and with the bowling, I think they needed somebody to step up and support Siraj. I mean, if we'll obviously go into numbers in some time, but I think they lack that presence. I mean, they have there's no Chahal in that team anymore. So they needed that somebody, some bowler, some Indian bowler or overseas bowler to step up for them, and sadly that has not happened for them. I think these are the two reasons. But again, this season things look a lot better with Rajat coming back. They will hope that he will do his best. I mean, we have seen what he can do. We have seen that superb 100 last year. So very capable batsman. I think I can totally understand the excitement in RCB fans when they say that Rajat is back.
Yeah. I mean, not to mistake, he had a terrible time in his red ball international cricket career. Got a debut against England, played three test matches, nothing to write home about, but completely different format.
Yeah.
The pitches are going to be much more friendlier for batting. The ball's going to be nice and hard, coming onto the bat better. And yeah, with a license to go after the bowling from ball one. So all set for a bumper Rajat Patidar season, hopefully,
Yeah.
in that middle order.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, again, along with Rajat, they also have Cameron Green. Now Cameron Green, we saw what he can do. It was his first season with Mumbai last year, and he has already scored 100, and he has shown the glimpses of what he can do. His brilliance with the bat. He's yet to establish himself as a IPL level seamer, but I think he will have his time. He will get games. He'll get opportunities, so he can still do that. But I think as a batsman, he has shown what he can do. He can be totally destructive at the top when he bats in top three mainly.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of time for Cam Green. He just won a test match for his country against New Zealand. So nobody knows I've watched him from close quarters for 174 of his runs at the Basin Reserve. I know it's a completely different format, but I do remember a series in India that Australia
Yeah.
was playing a 3 match or a 5 match T20 series where he was opening the batting there, and might he was hitting it a long, long way. And just the fearlessness and the expressive way that he was playing, he didn't care about reputations. He didn't care who was the bowler in front of him. If the ball was there in his zone, it was being deposited.
Yeah.
And he's that kind of player. I mean, it helps to be 6.5 feet tall,
Yeah.
but he's got that intimidating presence at the crease that when you see him and when he hits the ball, it does travel and it hits those advertising hoardings with a thud, and yeah, just puts fear in the mind of the opposition when he does that.
Yeah, when you're 6 foot 6 inches and that you have that kind of a natural reach to you. I mean, whenever we talk about boxing matches, we always say that this boxer has got that reach advantage if he's taller. So similar to that, just drawing parallels, you will see Cameron Green and Tim David. These guys have a very strong reach. Just 3 to 4 inches in their zone, you miss your length by three to 4 inches, and they will punish you badly. The ball will disappear. Those mighty sixes, that meters counter will go on 90 meters, 95 meters, 100 meters, and those guys can punish you really badly.
One interesting stat in those in that graphic that you're showing there is clearly Faf du Plessis, Virat Kohli, Glenn Maxwell all having good seasons. But tell us the story behind those numbers, Sarvesh, that you pointed out just before we went on air today.
Yeah. First of all, the run of games. I think they did not win three back-to-back matches. Every time they won two, they lost one, or every time they won, they ended up losing two. So the momentum was not quite there in their season, and in the end, you feel that when you're on 14 points, just 2 points below that 16-point mark, which we normally consider as a benchmark, as a safety spot where teams normally qualify. They could not get to that because of these run of games. They probably should have consolidated when they after that RR game, but it did not happen, sadly. And now coming back to the batting performances, you will see Faf du Plessis, Virat Kohli both scoring above 600 runs. That's a great thing to have for any team. If your two batters are there who are scoring more than 600, it's a great thing to have. Glenn Maxwell again, 400. But my issue with this is the reliance on these three batters. If you see that others have contributed to only 29% of the runs that RCB scored, and these three guys have contributed to almost 71% of the runs. Now, there's nothing wrong. These three, I mean, we all know what these guys can do, but what I'm trying to say here is that there's sort of over reliance on these three guys. I mean, if you look at the other teams, if you look at what the other teams are doing and how the percentage of runs scored by three highest run getters for all the teams, you'll see that teams who were doing well, they had around 50 to 60% of the runs scored by their three main batters. These are not top three batters; these are three main batters, the highest run scorers for them. But if you look at RCB, the percentage was 71%. That tells you that there was over dependence, over reliance on these three guys. Whenever these guys didn't show up, they had some issues. So this was one area I think I felt they had issues, and I think they will rather look into this. And with Rajat again coming back, I feel this number will improve. It will come down to around 60-65%, and I think that's a good sweet spot to have.
I think it's a brilliant stat, and I'll tell you why. It also tells me that the runs were coming at the top of the order, which means that sometimes probably they were not getting the finishing kick that they needed
Yeah.
in all those games. And we so often see that T20 games are lost because you leave about 10 or 20 runs short when you're batting first, or those extra 10 or 20 runs that you need when you're chasing a target. And if you've got nobody delivering those for you on a consistent basis, then it's not going to work, because you can score all the runs in the beginning of the innings. But if you don't finish strong and you leave some runs out there, then that's what comes and bites you in the backside
Yeah.
in the tournament itself. No, that's a fantastic stat, and I don't think I've seen that one before. So well done on that, coming up with that, Sarvesh. Margins of victory, we spoke about this yesterday, that Punjab Kings, the margins of victory were very small. They lost some very tight games. What's the story with RCB?
With RCB, it's exactly opposite of what Punjab were doing. It's either this way or this way. There was no middle ground. They were winning matches by you can see 112 runs, that margin against Rajasthan Royals, and against KKR they lost by 81 runs. So it's either this way they are winning convincingly, comprehensively, or either this way they are losing pretty badly. Against KKR they lost by 81 runs. Against DC and MI, those teams chased down the totals in 16th, 17th over, and that really hurts your net run rate. When you go down to that towards the business end of the tournament, you will, and you try to fight for that fourth spot. This net run rate often comes very handy, and we have often talked about how RCB and the famous the meme where the fans are calculating on their calculators about the required run rate. So in these, I think this thing is particularly important. I think I'm sure they realize this, that they need to at least get closer when they are not winning. And I think this one thing that I wanted to highlight, that there has to be some middle ground. There has to be something in between where they play percentage cricket and they realize that another net run rate is also important.
But it also backs up your previous stat, because what it tells me is that when those top three batters who gave them all those
Yeah.
70% of their runs did well,
Yeah.
they won big. But
Yes.
in the game where those three batters didn't actually perform well, they have also managed to lose by massive margins,
Exactly.
because your bottom order or your middle order and your lower order is not contributing at all.
Exactly.
So yeah, they go hand in hand, both those stats. Yeah, no, this is a insightful stat, and yeah, kind of explains what exactly has gone wrong for RCB in 2023. Right. Let's look at the squad and see what we
Should we take a
have
look at the
in
bowling
terms.
last season?
Yes,
There's not
yes,
much to talk
definitely.
about,
Yeah.
but it was just Mohammad Siraj and Harshal Patel. Like we discussed, they needed probably somebody to step up and be that third ball. Because look at Gujarat, look at CSK, these guys qualified convincingly. They were in top two, and look at them. They have two to three bowlers in top 12 or top 15. So I think this is something teams will have to look at carefully. You need to have your top two bowlers in top 15. You're in a comfortable place. So sadly for RCB, it did not happen. They probably needed somebody to help these guys. This season they have got some players. We'll discuss about them in the next section of our current squad.
Right. I'll pick up the batters and you can take over from the spinners onwards. So we've got, obviously, the man who's making a comeback, and I only say a comeback because he's missed a 5 Test match series. He's been away on an extended break, but knowing Virat Kohli and knowing his fitness levels and knowing his passion for the game, I'm sure he'll be all right come the first ball that he has to face against CSK soon. We've also spoken a lot about Rajat Patidar coming back, who's going to bolster that middle order. So that's a great sign for them. There's Faf du Plessis there, obviously captaining, and which means that he's also going to play pretty much every game. And his fitness too, and his fielding. Some of his fielding last
Yeah.
season was absolutely out of the world. I
Is
mean,
he is
at
he
that
really
age,
39?
to
Is he
be.
really 39?
Yeah, is Jimmy Anderson really 41?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, putting 42-year-olds like me to shame. Absolutely. But yeah, very familiar name there as well. Suyash Prabhudesai. We've seen him for a couple of seasons. I have a lot of time for Suyash Prabhudesai, and it is only because of a very strong bias that I have towards players coming from Goa. Um, yeah, keep Suyash involved. He's a brilliant cricketer, and I think his performances sometimes go unnoticed because he comes from a slightly smaller state. and his team never makes it beyond the group stage. But now he's a brilliant cricketer, and I hope they invest a bit of time and money into him. Keepers, we've got DK in the squad again. He's back after traveling the world and commentating all over the world. He's back on the field, and he's been practicing hard from what I see on his social media handles. Yeah, I was just also remembering when I see Dinesh Karthik's name, I always remember about this 80s. I think it was in the 80s or the 90s. There was this ad which used to come for Dinesh shootings, and the logo of that was I'll have to sing it to you because it doesn't make sense otherwise. And it used to go like, takes the world in a stride. Ta-da-da-da, Dinesh, and Sunil Gavaskar used to do that ad. But yeah, every time I hear that, I used to hear that, or I hear it now. Yeah, it just reminds me of Dinesh Karthik, and I hope he has a good season. It is going to be his last season.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
Is that confirmed? Yeah.
Yes, it's confirmed. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean he's been a good cricketer for India. One is the Nidhyas Trophy, and I think that'll be the highlight of his cricketing
If you
achievements
ask
as far as
me
India is
if you
concerned.
ask me the highlight of his career, I'll still say that series against England in England, where he was opening the batting, and I'll still say that those performances. I mean, we'll still talk about it like 10 years down the line, that how good Dinesh Karthik was in that series. He was phenomenal, and I think, like you rightly said, fantastic player. He had a phenomenal career, no regrets. Very good player.
And yeah, just the other thing I love about him also is that a couple of years back, when he wanted to make a comeback to the team, he did the hard yards. He worked really hard on his game. He's identified a spot in the side which was empty, and he said, "I'm going to be the one to fill that spot." Work towards his dream, and then finally made it. So it was a very feel-good kind of story with Dinesh Karthik
Yeah,
going to that World Cup. I
absolutely.
mean, it did go the way he wanted it to go, but again, hats off to him for trying, and at that age,
Yeah, yeah.
um yeah, Anuj Rawat is still there. He's I call him a mutual fund, the one that you put money into and just forget about it and hope that it returns investment at some point of time. He's shown us glimpses in the past, hasn't he? But never really kind of cemented
Yeah.
a spot in the playing 11. He's not broken down a door to say, pick me, pick me, pick me. And that's my problem with Anuj Rawat, that
That's
he's
I think
got the
that's
game,
what mutual funds
but
do. You don't calculate the returns in short term. You always take calculators in longer term. You perfectly described him then.
yeah. And in that all-rounder list, now Maipal Lomror is there. I wouldn't go as far as calling him an all-rounder because I I I don't know. I've not seen much of his bowling. I've always considered him to be a batter. Again, he's another one of the mutual funds that RCB have in their lineup. The big news, though, obviously, is that of Cam Green. I think they needed someone like him, an all-rounder, a fast bowling all-rounder who's going to come and give them at least 2 or 3 overs in a game, and that big, powerful hitter who can either play at the top of the order. You tell him to finish, he can play at the death. So yeah, just a brilliant cricketer to join the likes of Glenn Maxwell. And an interesting pick in Will Jacks there as well, who's uh, played really well in those limited chances that he's got for England. Utility cricketer, bowls a bit of off spin as well, and yeah, just a brilliant cricketer. So he's also good, and I think he'll kind of look to fill in the gap that Michael Bracewell left for them, because
Yeah.
Bracewell, when he was playing for them, was also that off spinning all rounder
Yeah.
that
In
they
fact, in
had.
fact, Bracewell
Um,
replaced Will Jacks last year, so he was like for like replacement for them.
yes, absolutely. Cool. Leave those spinners to you.
Yeah, so Karan Sharma is there, the season captain, like we all know. He has won trophies for multiple teams. So we will hope that he will do the same with them. And then Mayank Dagar, they traded Shabazz to SRH and they got Mayank Dagar in return. So if you look at their bowling, they both are left arm spinners. So like for like again. Himanshu Sharma was there, leg spinner, and Swapnil Singh, the left arm spinner, is there. I think they have tried to cover the left arm spinner spot there. And in Seamers, they already had a good core of Siraj, Akashdeep, and Vishak, and all those guys were there already. And now what they have done is they have also taken Yash Dayal. So they now have a very good core of Indian fast bowling contingent. So Akashdeep just made his debut for India. So we all know what he can do, uh, and also his batting. He's a pretty handy batsman at number 8, number 9. And now going to the overseas players, Reece Topley was already there. Then now they have got Alzari Joseph and Lockie Ferguson. They have spent a lot. It was a topic for discussion after the auction that 11.5 crores on Alzari, but I think they are backing him, Alzari, and then they have got a good backup in Lockie Ferguson. I know Rahul, you may not like the term backup being associated with Lockie Ferguson. I know you will have something to say on that, but yeah. So this
What's
is
not
the
to
squad.
like about him? He bowls faster than Alzari.
Yeah.
And he's got a better mustache than Alzari's also. So there are two reasons to pick him ahead of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, one observation: Alzari, Lockie, and Yash Dayal, they were at GT. The entire core was there with GT. GT's title-winning season, they were there. So now they have got three of them with them RCB. And
Yeah, no, one of the things, you mentioned about Yash Dayal, and that's another story. The guy's been through a lot. We all know what happened to him when Rinku Singh took him apart. Then he had an injury, so he's been out. Now he's not playing for that team anymore.
yeah,
But it's good to see him get picked by another IPL side.
yeah,
And a decent payday. 5 crores for
yeah,
Yash Dayal is a very good payday,
yeah.
and just a confidence booster that there are teams out there who still rate him. And I was just looking at some of his domestic numbers. I think he's done very decently in the domestic games that he's played since as well. So
Yeah, yeah. So look at his Syed Mushtaq Ali number, 7 wickets at a decent economy. Vijay Hazare Trophy as well, 9 wickets. I mean, look at all these bowlers. We just spoke about how they have a strong core of Indian fast bowlers, and look at this: Vijay Kumar Vishak, everyone, Akashdeep, all these guys have done well. 9 wickets, 8 wickets, 15 wickets. So this is a very good domestic core to have. Akashdeep's number in Vijay Hazare Trophy, look at 10 wickets and economy of around 3. It's brilliant actually. And so all these guys have performed. Mayank Dagar, again, 10 wickets in Syed Mushtaq Ali. Uh, in Vijay Hazare, his economy was good. At Syed Mushtaq Ali, it was slightly down, but still, I think if you are picking Mayank or Karan Sharma as your primary spinner, then you need to have these guys to have a good domestic season, and these guys already have that good season under their belts. So I think it's a good sign from that perspective.
and
And
they've swapped Mayank Dagar for Shahbaz
yeah,
Nadeem, so they're not actually losing much on that
exactly.
front because both are very similar kind of bowlers as
Yeah,
well.
it's in batting that they are losing because Shabazz was a very handy batter. He has done well for them with his bat, but I think they will probably say that they don't probably need that firepower at 6 or 7 because they have now that big five batting for them in top 5. So I think that's how they must have thought. This is what I'm trying to think. And
Yeah.
yeah, again, looking at the batters, we all know what Rajat can do. No need to talk about him. Suyash, he had a brilliant Ranji season. He had a brilliant domestic season. Look at his Vijay Hazare Trophy numbers, striking at 100 and averaging at around 50. Good numbers. He also scored good centuries in Ranji Trophy. Anuj Rawat, his Syed Mushtaq Ali numbers are decent, not great. That strike rate needs to improve. And then Mahipal Nomrod, like you said, another mutual fund that they have. He again had a decent domestic season. And then Saurav Chauhan, not a lot of has been written about him. Pretty unknown commodity as far as this season is concerned. But I think what I have read about him is he can keep wickets if they want. It says he has kept wickets in the past, so maybe he is I think he's a left-handed batter, bats well, and if you look at his numbers, strike rate is pretty impressive on 185. Uh, in Vijay Hazare, similar numbers, impressive strike rate, impressive average. So I think maybe we'll see Saurav Chauhan in this season at some point.
Yeah, no, that's a good analysis of all the numbers. And I guess the crux of the matter is their overseas signings normally tend to deliver for them. It is time for this Indian contingent now to kind of step up and support that overseas contingent along with their India players
Yeah,
to kind of make that playoffs because they're a good side. I mean, and with a side like that, a team like that should be making playoffs.
yeah.
Yeah. So cool. I guess what's next is coming up with our 11s then.
Yes. So I have got again. It's I think it's becoming my habit now to pick two starting 11s. The first one is I think we both will have similar top five. I will have Faf du Plessis Virat at number one and two. Then I'll have Cameron Green at number three because I think he's best when he bats in top three. If you push him down to five or six, you are basically restricting his abilities to score freely. If he gets in at number three or in those opening spots, then he can score big, and he can actually win games. Proper match winner if he gets going. So I want him to bat at three, followed by Rajat, and now you'll see that Glenn Maxwell is at five. So again, I think three, four, five they can rotate and they can push anybody up the order depending on the situations. Normal situation, I think this should be a good batting order, but it should be flexible. Then at number six, Dinesh Karthik. At number seven, I'm picking Suyash, Prabhu Desai, and Anuj Rawat. Now Anuj Rawat, I'm mentioning him because we all know like he's a wicket keeper. So in case if it doesn't work out with Dinesh Karthik, then they can directly push him to keep wickets. That is exactly what I've done in my second squad. If it doesn't work out for DK, then Anuj can keep wickets, and then at number seven, Suyash, they can keep Suyash and Lombror, one of Suyash or Lombror. I'm like you said, I'm not entirely not really banking on Lombror's bowling. I think that's why I've kept him in that Suyash slash Lombror at number seven. And in my first 11, if they feel that Cameron Green is a good enough type of a bowler, Cameron Green and Glenn Maxwell, if they can do the job for them as for the fifth bowler, or if they can bowl 5 to 6 overs, then I think they can afford to have that another all-rounder at number 8. Manoj Bhandake could be that guy, or Lombror again could get that opportunity. And then 9, 10, and 11, three fast bowlers. I'll start with Akashdeep, but no, I don't really know if that's the right choice. Maybe they can also go with Vishak, and he has done well for them. So any one of them, I'm fairly okay with that. And Alzari Joseph would be my first choice overseas spinner, seamer for them. I feel that Lockie has regressed a bit in last few years. I think Alzari has done his bit, and Reece Topley had his issues with injuries. So I think Alzari, start with him and see how it goes. If it doesn't work out, then I think you have two good, capable backups in Reece Topley, and Lockie Ferguson. Now in the second 11 again, you just need that additional bowler. That's why you can see that I have Vijay Kumar Vishak in that. And again, for impact players, Karan Sharma and Mayank Thakur could come in because this was done assuming they bat first. So while bowling, they can easily get in one of these guys in their 11.
No, it all makes sense. I also realized that Alzari Joseph actually is a much better batter than Lockie Ferguson or Reece Topley for that matter. And should the need arise at the death of an innings, he has the ability to smack them. And, if you need 6 of one ball, you'd rather have Alzari Joseph facing than Reece Topley or Lockie Ferguson. So it makes sense.
If you remember that match, Mumbai Indians, 2 runs were needed on the final ball. Pollard, it was Mumbai against Punjab. Pollard did that job. He got out in the end, and it was Alzari. He was so calm. He was taking those ones and twos brilliantly. I mean, I was actually surprised to see that kind of a composure from a tail ender. Then I realized that he's not really a tail ender. He can actually bat decently well, like you said.
He's a very good bat. I've seen him in a test match at the Basin year when the West Indies came over. Saw him score 50 or 60 against New Zealand, and he was playing beautiful cricketing shots. So he's got the skill. Yeah. Let's bring up my 11.
Yeah.
And as always, as you already mentioned, our top 5 are still the same. So I've gone with Faf and Virat to open. Although I would like to bring this point up to all the Virat Kohli fans out there. Is the only reason I might think of pushing him down to number 3 is because of that T20 World Cup coming up. Virat Kohli is not going to open the innings at the T20 World Cup for sure, because we've got Rohit Sharma and we've got Yashasvi Jaiswal, and if Shubman Gill does make it to the team, then we've got Shubman Gill as a third opener. So I don't think Virat Kohli is going to open the innings. If he's not going to be opening the innings at the World Cup, then why make him open the innings for the dress rehearsal of the World Cup, which is the IPL? So I would rather bat him at number 3. But all the news coming out of the RCB camp is that Virat's going to open, which is why I've got him at 1 and 2. Cameron Green, again, very capable of opening, very capable of going from ball 1. I've got him down at 3. But also, there's another left field thought in my head that if a wicket falls in the power play, obviously Cameron
Yeah.
Green comes in at 3. But if they don't lose a wicket in the power play, then I would rather have someone like a Rajat
Rajat.
Patidar
Yeah.
coming up
Agree.
and then Cameron Green coming down to finish the innings because that's where his utility might be best utilized.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought process. Yeah, so Rajat at 4, Glenn Maxwell at 5, Suyash Prabhudesai, go Goa. So let's get Suyash in there, give him a lot of game time this year at number 6. And we've seen in the past, that when he comes down the order, also he's the kind of guy who goes from ball 1, doesn't really hang around or waste too many deliveries. Dinesh Karthik at 7. Again, depending on the match situation, if we are in the 17th, I think, what was it, 17th over onwards or 18th over onwards, they used to always send him for
Yeah.
those last,
10,
whatever,
15
15 balls that he.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So again, he can come up if need be. Then obviously we've got Akashdeep there, who's just made an India debut, played really well and high on confidence. I've got him there. I've got Lockie Ferguson there, and my sole reasoning for picking him ahead of Alzari Joseph is the fact that I saw him in a T20 series against Australia recently, and in 2 matches he bowled brilliantly. In the first game, the Black Caps made over 200. Australia chased that down. It was around 217 was the target, I think. Lockie Ferguson, less than run a ball for 4 overs with 2 wickets. Then they went to Eden Park, which is the smallest cricket stadium in the world. And there also, Lockie Ferguson bowled a spell, less than run a ball, 2 games in a row. And I just think he's in brilliant rhythm at the moment. He knows his game. He knows what he needs to do. I saw a couple of new variations in him as well in those games, and I just think he's ready. So I'd play him. And he's Kiwi. So let's go New Zealand. I've got Goa there. I've got New Zealand there. We just need Arshin from somewhere, Kulkarni, to bring Solapur in there somewhere. And then we'll have the complete trio of all the places that I love. So yeah, and then of course Mayank Dagger comes in, the left armer, because a straight kind of swap for Shabazz Nadeem gives them the spinning option. Mohammad Siraj, no questions asked there in that 11, starting 11. And then my impact sub would be the leggy in Karan Sharma, or depending on the pitch, you either get Vijay Kumar to come in there and bowl, or if you're obviously then batting first and you need some runs, then you've got Anuj Rawat and Lomrot there. But that is my 11.
Yeah, sounds good. Just the only one thing about Virat, I think he has found that sweet spot for him at the top of the order, where he can maneuver pacers at the top. He can score those boundaries, get quick runs, and then he can consolidate in the middle overs, and then again he can fire at the back end. He can build that inning from over number 1 to over number 20. Whenever he does that, I think we see Virat scoring very big runs and us we're winning. So I think that's what Virat has in his mind. I think that I see him sticking with that. So yeah, let's see. But your point is very valid that if we are going to play him at number 3, if he gets picked to play there, then I think it makes sense to have in 3. But let's see what happens there.
I also get the feeling watching him in that series against Afghanistan that Virat, you might see a different Virat in this IPL.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to see the Virat that we've
possible.
seen. I think we are going to see a Virat that comes out all guns blazing, who's out to prove a point, because there's a lot of questions being asked about Virat Kohli, the T20 player, and I think his best. We've seen it over the years that he lets his bat do the talking, and we might just see another chapter in this mega novel called as Virat Kohli in this year's IPL. Well, that brings us to the end of RCB's preview. Look, I haven't spoken about my shirt yet, so let me quickly do that before we end. I'm wearing green today, and the only reason I'm doing that is because RCB also have a second jersey that they always play one game in, and it's a green colored jersey. Their luck has been about 50-50 in that jersey. They won half their games, lost half their games, but it looks good on them. And that's the only reason why I'm wearing my second Cook Islands polo today, to match with that RCB's second jersey. Look, it's been a pleasure as always, discussing this with you, Sarvesh. Whoever's watching, please follow us, please like us, please give us your comments. We're there on Twitter, we're there on Instagram. Follow us, and we're there on YouTube as well. So please subscribe, and yeah, just tell us what you think. If you're doing well, tell us we're doing well. If you're not doing well, tell us what we should be doing different. Any closing comments from you, Sarvesh?
So we have been getting good response. I've seen the comments on YouTube. A lot of people are commenting and giving their thoughts. So that's a very good sign. I I would like to encourage all of you to actually go there. Let us know what you think about it. Let us know where we can improve. Let us know your thoughts on the teams, thoughts on the points that we discuss. I think that's a great way to communicate, because it's whenever we communicate, I think it's always better. So I think, yeah, this let's just keep it going, because the season is just getting started.
We're halfway there now. We've got the remaining 5 teams to go. We'll bring you another preview tomorrow for sure. Until then, keep watching, keep liking, keep sharing, and keep following us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Have a good night.